Everyone, welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds on this episode. That's right, talking with Ringo, award-winning writer Bob Frantz. Last time we talked about Skeeters, lovely book in the horror genre, and today we're talking about tomatoes and killer tomatoes at that. So, Bob, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, man, and I appreciate you calling me by my official Zoom titled name, Ringo Award-winning writer Bob Frantz. I put that there on purpose just to get the mention because it's nice. It's nice.
It is, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, well deserved, and not everybody gets one of those. So, congratulations.
Not everybody gets one of those, indeed. I was pretty happy when we won. I'm still shocked and amazed. It sits in my bedroom, and I still look at it like, how is that even possible? Like, how did we do that? What kind of ruse did we pull to get that thing? But I'll take it.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you're outside, and we're talking tomatoes. How is your garden this summer?
You know what, man? My wife, Stephanie, who's sitting next to me, you can't see her. How many tomato plants did we plant? Two. We planted 2 tomato plants early in the summer. How many tomatoes have we gotten from said plant? Five. 5 tomatoes. And I didn't even get to
Nice.
see them. Bobby ate them. My son, my hungry youngest son, ate the tomatoes before I could even get to them. But I mean, it's a work in progress. Much like the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes Kickstarter, it's a work in progress. But I have a better feeling for success for the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes Kickstarter than I do for my own tomato plants that are in my front yard.
And hopefully you don't have to be afraid of the tomatoes you're growing. Hopefully those are safe.
Yes, we haven't seen any teeth yet. No one. They haven't attacked the mailman or any dogs walking by. So far, so good.
Nice. I think Killer Tomatoes lives in kind of that same space in my brain that, like, going into an 80s VHS store and seeing all of the like rentals up and
Yeah,
all of that crazy cover art that we would see in the 80s. It lives in the same space as like Killer Clowns from Outer Space and some of that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what attracted you to this property?
To be honest with you, I never really thought we would get a lot of work in licensed property because we tried in the past and it just hadn't been successful. But luckily, the gentleman Chris, yeah,
Longi?
Chris Long guy. I'll have to ask him the pronunciation. We've had many conversations and I've never asked him how to pronounce his last name. But Chris is the head of Panic Entertainment, and he came to us. We met Chris a couple years ago when we won the Ringo in Baltimore, and he was a big fan of Metal Shark Bro. And he called me one day. He called Kevin and I, and we're like, "Hey, dude, like we have this opportunity to do Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Would you be interested?" And I was just like, yeah, that would be awesome. Because again, much like you, Jason, like it occupies this space in my brain where it's like, yes, I know this property. I haven't really I haven't watched a Killer Tomato movie before we agreed to do the comic in years, but I know I can sing the song. You know what I mean from the opening film. I know there's a very famous actor who we're not allowed to talk about in the second film. I don't know why we can't talk about him, but his first name starts with a G. His last name ends with a C. He's in the second movie, but you can't reference it. But yeah, so it was just an opportunity to do some license work on a really kind of on a property that I felt like was a real a real, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like it was in our wheelhouse.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because like with Metal Shark Bro, with Skeeters, with some of the other stuff that we've done, like it's kind of the premise is so kind of outrageous and silly that it's if you buy it, you're in. And Metal Shark Bro and
Yeah.
Skeeters are very much in that wheelhouse. So I just figured this is something that we could just kind of just ease right into, and lo and behold, it was a good fit. Chris was right. Chris Longy, I believe Longy. I have to ask him.
Yeah, yeah, if it's right on the shelf. It's right on the shelf with the other titles. And
Yeah,
is this the first Killer Tomatoes comic, or at least one of the first, right?
I believe there were Killer Tomato comics in the '90s when the cartoon
Ah,
was out, because there are so many different like versions of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. There's the original film that came out in the '70s that has that kind of like slapsticky, like visual comedy airplane gag vibe to it. There's the
Hmm.
there's that movie that came out in the what mid to late '90s, starring the friend we can't name. Um, and then there was the cartoon on Fox Kids that a lot of people really gravitated towards, and the cartoon was a bit more in my wheelhouse because it was along like the Ninja Turtle timeline, like that Fox when Fox was just cranking out really great cartoons. So that one
Hmm.
kind of landed 91, 92. And then there were later films that I watched doing research for the film. But the cool part about the property is the lore is kind of so all over the place. Like there's not one set of rules. So we were able to kind of create our own kind of lore and bring it into the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes world because the license holder was like, yeah, man, like have knock yourself out. Because it's not like Ghostbusters where the rules are so like strict and you have to adhere to these certain things, or various other properties that we all know from the 80s, all the films and stuff. It was just like, yeah, dude, have fun. Like, whatever you want to do, go. And that was such a freeing experience, again, because I've only written a little bit of Felix the Cat as like a licensed property. I've never really done a lot of licensed work. So that was very nice that we could kind of do our own thing, create our own characters, kind of make our own world, and just adapt to the tomato universe, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did you want to take the story? What were the areas that you wanted to explore?
I mean, that's a great question, Jason. With Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, like I felt that the comedy was in the premises. Like the
Hmm.
tomatoes, you know what killer tomatoes are, right? You know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You got these tomatoes that are going to attack and blah blah. Like you know that. So to me, it was like there has to be like a good hook. Like what's the hook? What are we looking at here? And so the idea we pitched was it's in the far future, and Alexander is this great warrior from the future, comes back to the past to try to stop gangrene and his experiments from succeeding. So it's got that Terminator vibe, but we twisted it a little bit. Like we twisted it on its ear, and that was the fun part for me. Like taking these tropes that you know and love and that you've seen 100 times and going, yeah, but what if we did this? Like, what if we
Hmm.
changed it a little bit to make it kind of funny? And that's where I think the comedy really comes from. And that's what got me really excited. And because, too, in the future, the tomatoes that we're dealing with are also like kind of cyborgy. Like they're not just like, tomatoes rolling around on the ground with big teeth. They have, attachments that are like chainsaws or like robot legs and things of that nature. So that really allowed me to have some fun with it too, because it was something that visually the tomatoes universe has never really seen before. So I had a lot of fun with that. Just like Bobby Timoney and I had a lot of fun like crafting the different future tomatoes that would come back into the past and kind of play with it. And the premise too, the idea that Gangrene's experiment this time around was he was tricking people through the algorithms of like social media wellness and things of that nature for people to buy these products that they were taking, like whether it's pre-workout or collagen or whatever. I'm sure you've seen them on your timeline. Like the list
Hmm.
runs on and on and on. These people are taking these supplements and they're changing their genetic makeup so he can turn them into tomatoes. So there was kind of fun on that thing too, like the idea that like we're all being kind of brainwashed by the algorithm, like we're kind of stuck in this loop of like wellness influencers and things that aren't really real and maybe not good for us. So kind of playing with that aspect of it too. Like that was the fun part for me, just going like these are things that I have strong opinions on, obviously. So I'm like, you know what, let's just have fun with it. And let's adapt these ideas to the world of Killer Tomatoes. And like I said, Chris was super supportive. Michael Polis, who is the license holder over there with Killer Tomatoes, with the new film coming out, they were very supportive of the idea. So they kind of just let us do what we wanted to do, and it was very freeing, and it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like you have some James Cameron working in there, some Lloyd Kaufman, lots of influences.
Yeah, just doing all the things that I really love. Like that was the fun part about doing Metal Shark Bro. It was like, how can we get all these things into one thing? Like the fun of
Mhm.
doing theaters was one of my biggest influences for that book and just in general is Joe Dante with Gremlins. Like I love
Mhm.
Gremlins. I love the last little bit of Gremlins where the Gremlins have just taken over the town and are just do whatever they want. The guy drops his pants and you're supposed to giggle. It was a different time back then, but I really enjoyed
Right.
it too. I love those kind of genre films, and it was fun to kind of play in the genre in the Tomato universe.
Now, you mentioned Bobby Timoney. Any words about the creative team as well as your partner who is currently sitting next to you?
Well, Stephanie is the best. Like, I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff without my wife. Like, she's lovely and she's wonderful, and she works so hard for our family, and I love her so much. I don't think I'd be able to survive this whole world without my beautiful and supportive wife. But she doesn't have anything to do with comics. Like, she's just, she's just a good
She
spouse.
supports the comics.
Yes,
She believes
yes.
in the work.
And she just listens to me when I have these dumb ideas that I run by her. Like, what do you think about this? She's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like that. You sound really excited about it, so that's fun. And that's kind of the extent of it. Um, but then Bobby, we hooked up with Bobby through Chris because Chris and magnetic and fun, and you just want to make the best things possible for Bobby to draw. If that makes sense, like
Mhm.
because he's so creative and he really enjoys the process. So we would just Bob, what about this, Bobby? Could you pull this off? And he's like, oh, yeah, I got it. And like he would just send over character designs that are on the social media for Panic Entertainment and for the Kickstarter. And they're just so fun. And it's just it's so enjoyable. And it's in the vein of the 90s cartoon. Like he's really kind of captured that vibe. So if you're a fan of the Attack of Killer Tomatoes 90s cartoon, if you've seen it on YouTube, like Bobby just is hitting it on all cylinders. So it's really fun. I think I don't know who the colorist is yet. Bobby's colored some of the preview pages, but some of this stuff is just out of my hands because I'm just the writer. You know what I mean? So like my job is to write the script for Bobby to draw. The rest of it, Panic is taken care of, which is nice because I don't have to find a printer. I don't have to ship the books out. Like I'm just writing the comics, and that's already done. So my job is done. I've handed the stuff off. So I just get to sit back and watch the Kickstarter and enjoy the process. So it's been a lot of fun.
Any details on the Kickstarter that you want to make sure to share?
There's two covers. Tim Seeley did a cover for the because we got a soft cover and a hard cover. Tim Seeley did a cover. The Kickstarter is a cool campaign because they're rolling out all kinds of stuff. There's like little fuzzy tomato keychains that you can get. There's T-shirts. There's posters for the new film that's coming out pretty soon because there is a new film coming out that we're pretty excited to be a part of. It's just a really well thought out and well executed campaign. It's not just our story in there either. The campaign, did I lose it? Okay, there you go. The campaign is also going to feature some anthology pieces from some very big creators that I'm not allowed to talk about yet because we haven't announced. So I think as we get closer to the goal, we'll start announcing some of the creative teams for the anthology. So it's going to be, I think it's like 140 pages of work. So it's kind of cool.
Nice.
It's our story, which is the bulk of it, which is about 96 to 100 pages, and the rest will be anthologies from various creators, which is kind of cool. So it's been a really cool thing to be a part of. It's really an honor to be part of such a story franchise that still allows you to kind of do what you want and have your fun in it. You know what I mean? Because again, Chris and Michael were just like, yeah, dude, do it. And that's a really great feeling, like to have that kind of carte blanche, if you will. I love that word. That's one of my favorite words, carte blanche. It makes me sound so.
That's a great word.
It is. It really is. To be honest with you, I'm not even really sure what it means. It means white card, like that's the actual definition. Blank canvas. Okay. So see, she's so smart. To have that kind of creative freedom is just really great. And again, to have Chris and Michael, completely trust us is also really great. They're just like, yeah, dude, you know what to do. Like, we've read your books. We like your work. this is something that we think you'll excel at, so just go. And that's really awesome to hear. So we just kind of went, and there were times where like I was writing the scripts, Jason, and I'm like, I'm trying to tie the logic together in a way that makes sense. It's like this has to fit together perfectly, but I'm like, dude, it's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Like the logic doesn't have to be like airtight. Like I'm not writing like Oppenheimer here. You know what I mean? Like it's Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. You know what I mean? So that was a very freeing kind of realization. And then just to go back in and like got to punch it up for the jokes and make the gags work and the visual gags and Bobby's been very good with the visual gags too, and like the gags that tie to the original film, because for some reason in the original film, I don't know when the last time you've seen the original film was, there's just lots of people in costume, like just various costume fighting tomatoes with various kind of melee weapons. So we had to incorporate that into the comic. So it's just been a really good time to like pull from all these different influences and just kind of create this like Frankenstein's monster of a Killer Tomatoes project. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, yeah. Comedy is hard. Any tips that you go to for comedy, especially balancing it with like the horror aspects and
Well,
all of those things?
comedy is hard, but you just kind of, I always look at it as like you're just assaulting people with jokes. Like if this one doesn't land, like this one might. If not, there's a visual gag, there's a pun here, there's, so you just kind of like overload it, because if you have like just one big punchline that you think is good, especially in a comic, it might not work because you're not there to kind of nudge them along. That was
Uh-huh.
good, right? So you just kind of like bombard them with jokes. You're like, here's a pun, here's a visual gag, here's like a whole like 1, 2, 3 setup thing. So you just kind of keep hammering away, and not every joke is gonna land, but you're hoping for like, I don't know if you're a baseball guy, Jason, but you at least want to hit
Hmm.
like, you want to hit 500 or better. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then doing horror, Starks, who's a dear friend of ours, who's also kind of transitioned from comedy to horror. With him and I have had this conversation a lot. It's the same. It's the same rhythm. Comedy and
Hmm.
horror have the same rhythm because it's still set up. It's still set up to your punchline, set up to your scare. You know what I mean? So it's the same vibe. It's just a different emotional response you're going for. So that part of
Yeah.
kind of, so it was kind of easier to transition into doing like to horror from comedy, because again, it's the same beats, 1, 2, 3, like boom, okay, here it is, bang.
Yeah. That airplane approach again of like joke, here's a joke, here's another joke. I like
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And like again, they're not all going to land, because I mean that would be wonderful. And who has that kind of track record outside of like Mel Brooks and like Larry David? You know what I mean? And like
Hmm.
those are
Hmm.
that's very high company to be a part of. But again, if I can get 50% of the jokes landing, I'm good. I'm happy. And again, I'm the original audience, so if I find it funny, then I'm in. And then like I'll tell Stephanie, and like we've been married for 20 years, we've been together for 22. Like as long as she's not looking at me completely puzzled, or like she hasn't left the room, I think the joke will work out okay. You know what I mean?
Cool. Cool.
So,
Very smart beta reading.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But yeah, so it's got the comedy, it's got a little bit of the scares. We couldn't go too horror because it's still Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Like like the horror in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes isn't, like it isn't overly graphic. They still want to keep like a
Hmm.
certain level of like PG-13 stuff. So you still do the page turn scares, you still get the things here and there, but it's not like a bloodbath by any stretch of the imagination. You know what I mean? It's not Skeeters, which was, I felt, kind of graphic-y and like body horror stuff. But this is still, we're still having fun with it, so it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this a world that you would like to continue creating in?
Oh yeah, dude! Like especially now that I felt like I'm pot committed at this point. You know what I mean? Like I'm in.
Hmm.
I really like these characters that we've created. I like the world that we've kind of spawned. Like I love the idea of, because now there's the whole future, that we're playing with too, and to be able to write some of the rules for that, the distant future when there's like robo tomatoes running around and stuff like that. Like that's fun to me. So yeah, so of course I would love to be a part of it. So hopefully Chris will have us, And like I said, Chris likes what we do. I like what we do, and that's always a big part of it. And so yeah, of course, I would love to be a part of the Killer Tomatoes universe. So yeah,
Cool, cool. May it continue to be so.
yeah,
Where
that's what
can we
we're
go to learn more and what is ahead? Anything else that you'd like to mention that we can be looking for?
We've got the Kickstarter rolling now. A friend of mine and I, Mike Federale, are working on a book called Midnight League. That's going to be coming out probably next year. So I'm really excited about that. We'll probably kickstart that. We're going to kickstart that as a graphic novel. So that's kind of a fun thing. Kevin, myself, and Sketch Brooks. I don't know if you know Sketch, but you should have Sketch on the show. He's a wonderful guy. We're
Uh,
working on we're working on a book called Mystic Melon, which is about a melon-headed sorcerer who kind of loses his mojo and is sent back to a realm he doesn't understand. It's like a small, like beach tourist town, which is where I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So that's kind of a fun thing. And then Kelly Williams from Skeeters, him and I are working on a book about a Teddy Roosevelt impersonator who loses his job and decides to destroy the internet, which is kind of fun. So like we're going in several directions. Like we have a lot of irons in the fire. We're working on some stuff. So it's just a matter of like, trying to find our audience and making the books that we want to make. You know what I mean? Because that's what I really want to do at the end of the day. Like I want to make things that I want to read. I want to make things that I'm super into. Like the project with Kelly that him and I are kind of kicking around. He was posting some images earlier in the year, and one of them was of a sentient biscuit. And I was like, that's hilarious. And I was like, then I wrote a whole story around a Teddy Roosevelt impersonator and a sentient biscuit out to destroy the internet. You know what I mean? Like that was really fun to me. Sketch shared some images on social media of this mystic melon, this melon-headed sorcerer, and I reached out to him and was like, dude, I have a whole idea. So Sketch is a great guy, and he listened to me yell at him for, I don't know, maybe an hour about this idea that I have, and he was like, that's awesome, let's do it. So we're doing it. So it's just things that I want to put out in the world. I don't know if they're necessarily like things publishers would want to publish, especially now because it seems like publishing is getting so difficult.
mhm.
So yeah, so it's just stuff that I want to make and stuff that I want to do, and more importantly, like people that I want to work with. Like I love Sketch; he's a great guy. I love Mike Federale; he's a wonderful friend. Like I love Kelly; he's a great dude and wonderful collaborator. So it's just working with people who I want to work with and making things that I want to make, and it's very liberating. Like not chasing. Like I don't feel like I'm chasing it anymore. I'm just doing the things that I want to do. Like I deliver mail all day. I come home and I try to write silly comics that I enjoy. So that's the life for me, Jason. Like if that's what creativity and freedom is, then that's what I want. So that's what we're working
Awesome, awesome. Glad you're living the dream and glad that the creativity is there, the
on.
creative community is there. I'll link the Kickstarter and socials, any particular spaces that people should know about to go visit.
Just the Kickstarter, man. Just you can just search it up on Kickstarter, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That's what I'm worried about right now. Like, I don't care about building my followers on like Instagram because most of the time I'm just posting pictures of like animals I see on my route, um,
Uh-huh.
and books that I'm currently reading. So like, there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not posting any world breaking or kind of life changing things. If you want to see what an old man thinks about like or an old man who sees a gopher, like that I'm your guy. Or like, hey, there's a groundhog. Like that's my Instagram. So there's no point in sharing that. Just go to Kickstarter, kickstarter.com, search Attack of the Kill Tomatoes, and get involved in this really great campaign. We're really excited about it, man. There's some really cool stuff, and like it's just going to be a blast. It's a really fun book.
Well, cool. Well, glad to share about it and glad that we were able to make the time. Anything else that you'd like to mention before I close out?
No, I would just like to thank you, Jason, for allowing myself and other creators this avenue to kind of to sell their wares to your listening audience. Like making comics is difficult, finding an audience is difficult, and it's because of people like you taking time out of your busy day to like let people like me kind of rant and rave for 20 minutes at a time about projects we're working on. So like, thank you for your help in trying to grow our audience and to letting people know about our projects. I really appreciate that, man. So thank you.